This Week in 40K.
Welcome to This Week in 40K, the show about the grimdark that is neither grim nor dark. I am Colin, and with me, as always, is the wonderful and amazing Pig Daddy himself, Billy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Lilu's still around. Still am Pig Daddying.
How's it going?
It's going well. A lot of life, but many life things I could talk about, but the most important thing is I got my first game of 40K in like 2 months, because if I'm talking to 2,000 people a week about it, it's probably important to occasionally play it. I
agree.
I learned that the webway gate is not the answer I thought it was. It answers a different question, and that you can have too much of a good thing with Shroud Runners. And so, back to the drawing board for my last.
How many Shroud Runners did you take?
9, 3x3.
Oh, that is probably too many.
Yeah. I'm going to explore what 2 Void Weavers do in the spot of 6 of those Shroud Runners.
Okay. Good morning, Nurgle Matthew. We are always wishing you well as well. Good morning to Alka-Seltzer. I could use some Alka-Seltzer right now, actually. That'd be really wonderful right now. Fictitiously famous, also here live watching us are some of our traditional Tuesday morning crew, Billy.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. I wish that there was some way, Billy, to get additional people to join our Tuesday crew. How could people know when we're recording, Billy? How would they know when to find us?
Well, they have no precedent upon which to base that decision, and that's the tough thing.
Well, I thought you would point out that we always record at the same time every week.
That's literally what I was doing.
Oh, okay.
The precedent of every single week, absent one when I was in Hawaii, that it is 7 a.m. Pacific time on Tuesdays.
That's true. Here. Which is, of course, 10 o'clock Eastern, or 8 o'clock Mountain, or 9 o'clock Central.
Or some other time in non-American time zones that no American can ever figure out.
3 o'clock in London.
Is it?
In England, yeah.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Kick Colin out of America now.
I had a very eventful weekend.
Mm-hmm. But please do share.
Yeah, I played 40K on Saturday. I recorded a bit rep of Guard versus Votan. So that'll be up in the next couple days, provided I feel better. I'm really under the weather at the moment. So yeah, that their bit rep is up. Right. Sorry, I'm really not feeling what?
There might have been an exciting life event that happened for you.
Yeah, that's true. So I had my birthday this weekend, and in my family, we always made a big deal about birthdays. We felt like, in the general rigmarole of life, you forget that people want to be reminded that they're special. And so we tried to make a big deal out of birthdays. And so over COVID, I didn't do that at all. In fact, I didn't celebrate my birthday at all last year. So this year, I pointed out to the people of the Pacific Northwest that are my friends that I have an indoor pool, and it is in fact December. And it has been a incredibly cold December, even by our standards.
Okay.
And so I had about 30 people, maybe 15 kids, more like 40 people. Okay. Anyways, up for a swim party on Saturday. It was a very wonderful mix of people I worked with and used to work with, friends I've had since childhood, and people that play 40K. It was really a wonderful mix of those 3 groups of friends. Anywho, and then Sunday I watched a terrible football game and played video games.
You didn't watch the Niners Tampa game? That was delightful. It was wonderful. Football is great.
Well, I do like
joy and happiness.
If the question is, do I like watching Tom Brady lose? Then
Sure.
the answer is absolutely yes. I could not have watched that game because I wanted both teams to lose. That isn't how football works.
Yeah, I from watching some Seahawks games earlier this season, I understand that sentiment.
Yeah, you're like, can both of these teams lose? So then Monday morning, 2 people messaged me that they got contact traced about right before the party. Another person messaged me and said that they and their kids have the stomach flu. And then I woke up this morning feeling like at any moment I might have to throw up. So if I have to throw up, I'm going to leave. I'm not going to do that live. As much as I think vulnerability is how you make friends, I don't think that means vomiting with them.
having lived through a wife who's had morning sickness for much longer than the average pregnant person, you really there's a closeness you have to bring into the relationship for vomiting to be an acceptable
Have you done
everyday
some hair
occurrence.
holding?
What?
Have you done
Oh,
any
yeah.
hair holding?
There's, I will say no more lest I be rendered dead and incapable of continuing the show.
Fair enough. Good
Hi,
morning.
Philip
Good
Waghorn.
afternoon to you, Philip Waghorn. I really hope that Waghorn is your real last name because I love it. The other thing I was going to share is I get up early because I have 3 kids, 16, 14, and 11, and they have to go to school, and they go to school very early. So I get up at 6:20 to make sure the youngest kid, who has to go to school the earliest, which is dumb, to make sure the youngest kid gets off to school. Then I make sure that the big kids get up. Now, the big kids are 16 and 14, so they have alarms, and they get themselves up basically every day. Last week, while we were recording This Week in 40K, I did not do my job, and the kids did not go to school. And I didn't know. And at about 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm working, and I hear voices downstairs, and both of my kids are still home. So that was pretty funny. I was pretty amused by that. And I went down there like, well, I guess we're staying home today. And I'm like, no, you're going to school. Just because you missed part of school doesn't mean you get to miss all of school. So that's the exciting thing. That's things that are happening in my life. And with that, I feel like we should talk about 40K.
Yeah.
But only because I think that's why people are here and not to hear about stories from my life.
We've humanized ourselves appropriately. We can now jump right in.
Okay.
Our top story.
Our top story is that Colin is sick and he's unhappy about it.
Mm-hmm.
No, we have a better top story than that. What's our top story, Billy?
We do, and it might be a top story that repeats itself in some variations for the next month and a half, 2 months. LVO is very clearly in sight for the people who are chasing the top of the ITC. Going through all of the event results, boy, did I recognize a lot of the names in some of my events. And obviously they're doing well. And I think that, for whatever flaws there are in competitive 40K and in the standings and in all of that, I think it's fun. And I think it's a really good way to engage with the broader community, not as a content creator, but just as a member of it, is to know who are the players who are doing well. It's fun to be able to just throw out first names for some of the people, first and last for others, and say, oh, did you see what John and Jack did at this one? Or how are Vic and Nassim doing on the other side of the pond? Or what happens when Innes tries to come to America and spike a tournament and fails somewhat miserably? Ha ha ha, Innes. So I want us to just sort of broadly touch on what the standings look like, how they're shaping out, and maybe build up some hype for LVO and what the final standings are looking like. Because fantasy sports are fun. Fantasy 40K is something that's happened in the past. It's better when people know who they're talking about.
I think that as the internet has improved its ability to connect us all, and I don't want to get into the debate about the evilness of things like Facebook, but the positive side of all that stuff is that we're able to communicate and stay coordinated better than we ever have before in our history. And podcasts obviously help with that as well. I think that we know who more people are now than we ever have before in 40K. Yeah. I don't think that there's more good players than there ever was before. I think there was always a top tier of players that was really good. I know it used to be like Reese and Frankie. Like there's a Sean Naden's been around for a long time. There's kind of the old guard that is still around, but there's like Nanavati doesn't go to that many tournaments, and I don't either, but I'm not like them. So I think we just know who more people are, to be honest. Streaming events help. Charity Hammer helps. I think that there's just a lot of ways that you learn who people are. And I'm hoping that lets our show transition from just talking about lists over time to really follow the players, to follow the players and how they're doing and what they're attempting is really important. So that's my thoughts on that. Shall we move on to what's new?
Oh, can we just really quickly talk about who's sitting near the top of those standings?
Oh, okay. I mean, sure.
Okay. So right now, Vic Vijay is up by under 6 points against Jack Harpster.
Well, I like both of those people.
Yes, 1469, nice, 0.07 to 1463.97. So if either of the two of them runs hot, it'll be just whoever comes ahead. John Lennon is relatively behind them, 1423. My sense of the spreads of LVO is that, like, in the top 8, how big is the spread between us place? Like 30, 40, 50 points?
A lot, yeah.
Yes. So
basically, for the top 5 or so of the ITC, it's just whoever does better at LVO.
Yeah, so fair. So then you have John Lennon, David Gaylord, who I'm not familiar with.
He's a big Tyranid player. He travels and
Okay. Thomas Ogden in 5th, Mike Porter in 6th. Yep, Mike Porter in 6th. Nassim Fouché in 7th, Manny Chima 8th, Colin McDade 9th, Ben Sherwin 10th, Innes Wilson 11th. Stephen Crawley, who I think we talked about on the UK, in 12th. I'm going to stop at 14th. You'll hear in a second. Marshall Peterson 13th, Anthony Vanilla 14th.
Okay, I was about to say where the violence is. I was waiting.
There's the violence.
Okay,
because Violence is one of our favorite humans, and he has to be mentioned.
And he's watching live. He just said that David is awesome. Violence, I haven't met David, but I've heard nothing but amazing things about him, and I know that he always has great lists. So
yeah.
Jason, our buddy Jason wants to point out that I expect the good players of today are better than of the past due to info sharing. Man, that's a great point.
Yeah.
Man, that's a great point. I think that especially people like Anthony, who are younger, came into a competitive scene that was very easy to get up to speed on. I think that Anthony is a great example of that because he's an information guy. He wants to know how lists are doing, why they're doing that way, what people are taking. He wants to know all of that. And it's way easier to find that out now than it ever was before. So really great point from Jason, and helpful for Anthony to be here right now to be an example.
Yeah. And there's so much more opportunity to play. Like I know that Nova started because there were no events that existed. So like make a 40K scene.
Right.
And that obviously, repetition is a huge part of this. Anyway, it's a really packed top 14. There are more names going down that you'd recognize, Andrew Gagno's in 19th. But I think it's fun to look at that. And
man, that's great. He hasn't played in years. That's so good for him. Gagno has been not an active tournament player for a bunch of years.
Well, speaking of old players who are still good,
and one of the nicest humans I've ever met too.
Yeah. All right, so there's our top story. We'll be revisiting this leading up to LVO. If I have the bandwidth, we'll be doing some fun fantasy draft stuff around LVO.
What's new?
What's new, Billy Cat? Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Well, speaking of LVO, the LVO player pack went final with some rulings. The one that people are chatting about the most seems to be what's happening with Guard. Apparently, if we get an actual book, not just in a special box set, we can bring Guard. And by we, I mean Colin. And by Colin, I mean Colin if he comes to LVO. But whether or not Guard are going to be allowed is an interesting point of conversation. Whose decision that was, GW, FLG. There's the interwebs are churning. I personally don't have very strong opinions about it because I'm not going to play Guard, but I assume you might have some thoughts.
Yeah, they're not allowing Guard.
Yes, unless the book comes out.
That's what they said?
That's what they said. If the book comes out, they're going to let it. I'm not exactly sure what the time for the book coming out, but they were clear that...
Oh, interesting. That's different than what I had heard. Okay, sure. Well, that changes everything I was about to say.
Okay.
First of all, GW is completely at fault for the way they've done this release. When they did the Orc release this way, and the Orc players were... there was a lot of complaining, but people just kind of let them go to tournaments because there wasn't that many new models. That we didn't have an idea of how big they were supposed to be. Guard is in a situation where it had the same thing. Only some people have the book because there was a limited number of box sets. And the models are, some of them we just don't know. We have no idea what the base size of Solaris is, and he's going to be in 80% of the guard lists you play against. We don't know how big Ursula Creed is. She's going to be in probably 80% of the lists you play. We have no idea how big the Dorn is. We've seen pictures that indicate to us how big it is, but they're different from each other, so we don't really know. So there's just a lot of questions out there, and as a result, it's hard to know, and this is a frustration for me, it's hard to know what to make of the new codex, because it's not, some tournaments are letting it be in with proxies and with the data slate, which again, we've talked about before, the data slate should not be used with the new book.
And GW has confirmed that
oh,
it's
thank
not
God.
supposed to be.
Okay. But there's other people that are allowing the full codex, some people that are allowing only part of the codex, some people that aren't allowing the codex at all. And I don't think, even for a moment, you know what? It's Tuesday morning. I'm not feeling well. I'm going to be more open about this. This is stupid. This is dumb. We have a book that's come out for the oldest army to get a codex. They desperately needed it. We have been told by a whole bunch of people that we're supposed to get 10th edition in the summer, and the rumor is it's Index Hammer. Do we want these fucking flippin' people to be able to use their damn book they've been waiting 735 years for? I think yes. I think it is ridiculous to not let the guard book be at LVO. I'm not going to just report the news. I'm going to share my feelings on this. So that's how I feel about it. I think it's stupid. I think the Orc Codex created a precedent for this. Not only do I think you should be able to take guard, but I also think that they should come up with a base size for the missing models. Not the Dorn. I think the Dorn's impossible. But for like Solaris, his size doesn't matter. His base is the only thing that matters. We have a million pictures of him. Can we really not figure out what base he's on? So that's how I feel about it. I think that we're robbing guard of their guard players of their chance to be relevant, and also I think that means that LVO will not be the actual meta for the biggest tournament at the end of the season. It won't be the actual game because we're going to see guard from the 2 a weekend giant Europe tournaments that we cover. We're going to be covering guard. We're going to be covering how guard fits into the meta, and then LVO is going to roll around and be like, no guard here, completely different meta, and I think that's really dumb. I could rant on this for a lot longer, but I think I've gotten my point across.
I have no quibbles or qualms with anything you said. My only response is, if you'd done a little bit better of a job on Cadia and it still stood, you'd have a planet to stand on. But as it is, you don't. So.
But if we had kept Cadia, then we couldn't be mad about it. And I've won a lot of games by being mad about Cadia.
Very, very fair. So that's.
I think Vanilla has an interesting point.
Yeah.
Valent says, I think guard without a fact ruins the event from a balance perspective. That could be, but at the same time, it's like 2 months after the book came out.
Yeah.
Month and a half. It's like a month and a half. No, it's like two. It's a long time from when the book came out. We should.
Yeah.
Is what I would say. I think he's right. I think that Violence is right, but at the same time, at Slaanesh, Naj lost one giant tank the whole weekend with Votan. Like, we have stuff that's crazy powerful. Guard is just another one. Yeah. I don't think Guard is unbeatable by any stretch of the imagination. It is quite powerful. But I personally have been playing with it and think it's crazy, but I don't think it's nearly as powerful as the Tyranid book is. The Tyranid book that
is or was?
Was.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. The Tyranid book has been nerfed over and over again, and it's invulnerable to that. Doesn't care. It's like, oh yeah, you nerfed me. I'll use something different from my amazing, powerful book. And in fact, the all tank list that we saw, some Tyranid players are beating the all tank list by just taking their fast stuff and running it across the table and blocking in the guard army and just getting points. So there, this is a new thing to the meta. We can't make an assumption that it's broken more than everything else. It seems like Violence thinks it is, and he certainly knows. Yes, I agree. Guard blows the doors off Votan. Yes, that's true. One of the points I was making is that Votan is too powerful, and Guard counters them. That was the point I was trying to make. Violence helped me be more coherent about what I was trying to say on this morning where I appear to have the stomach flu. Okay.
Okay.
But we have other new stuff to talk about.
Two more quick pieces of news.
Yeah, sure.
So the other piece from LVO, they're improving the terrain situation. I'm not going to say fixing it. I don't want to drop into that, but all those most of those first floor windows, and it's terrain piece by terrain piece. So look at your player pack. Those are going to be blocked in. This is going to help improve line of sight blocking terrain at LVO. I highly recommend you look at the terrain at the player pack so you can see which pieces, the windows that you can physically as a human being see through, your toy soldiers cannot. Look at that. That's it for LVO right now. Other big piece of news, because I like big numbers and big angry men, Angron's rules got mostly spoiled. The man has a bajillion D attacks. The GW article actually had a fun little graphic of how many guardsmen on average does this Chaos Primarch kill. And Angron, according to their math, and I think it checks out, kills 30 guardsmen on average. He can get on his own 36 attacks. We think he might be able to get 39. People have talked about ways to get him to 42 and absolutely ridiculous ways involving Scarbrand on both players' side to get him up to 45 swings. That's just a fun number for one model.
But he's not going to be able to touch 30 guardsmen because they can't come in units of more than 10.
Well, don't destroy my fun. I like killing guardsmen. They're the NPC faction.
Okay.
Anyway, Angron's coming. I've for the duration of this show been a pretty devoted Pointy Ears fan. I like punching people in the face, and Chaos Marines do that. So there's a world. There's a world where I start eating worlds.
All right. For the network for this week, for what's new, we have stuff as well. We are going to pick a night to record Biff Pod. It was going to be tonight, but I am sick, and I'm not going to podcast twice today because that sounds miserable. So we'll be recording Biff Pod. Chuck will be talking about taking his Chaos list, which is very unique to Chuck and doing quite well. He'll talk about that. We'll get somebody else from Slanesh Smith on as well, probably. That's the big Northwest tournament we covered last week. So Biff Pod this week for sure. Last week we released the first bit rep from Lucas and Tyler down in the Portland branch of Best in Tabletop, and they played a fantastic game that you can find on our YouTube. There will be 2 games going up this week that are both Votan and Guard, 2 different guard lists. That's really interesting. That was meta information that I needed to see firsthand, so we tested that out. There's also a lot of stuff happening from the Frontiers guys, and they wrote it up for me this time. So let me just share with you what they got going on, because it's a lot. All right, so last week they had a regular show where they chatted with Jackson of Barnyard Wargaming about content creation, as well as highlighting 2 recent master events in QLD, which I don't know what is.
Queensland?
That sounds right. And and SW, North South Wales?
New South Wales.
New South Wales. Masters for Australia. Then Towes and Ben also talked with 3 Australian content creators about the hobby, why they started creating content, and the pros and cons associated. On Sunday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific time, Sam and Taus will be talking to 2 people from Cape Town, South Africa about their 40K in their region. Man, that's a lot. So we asked the Frontiers guys to create content for the metas, for the areas of 40K you don't hear about, and they're just rocking it. So if you haven't tried them out, they're on our podcast stream. They're on our YouTube. You can find them in all the same places that you find this show. Really just wonderful guys. It's like 3 guys named Alex. Yeah, it's really great. So I hope that you guys will give a listen. All right. And then next week on Tuesday, we'll be back with this week. Tuesday is not any of the holidays, not Christmas, not New Year's. So we're anticipating just doing this through the holidays. Billy will be in Tucson, Arizona with his amazing mother and father that I don't know anything about.
Yeah, they're wonderful people.
Yeah, they're wonderful people. You have parents that actually love you. It's a big deal.
It is.
Someone's got to.
And I
All right, here we go.
What's winning?
What's winning, Billy?
Still sort of everything. I struggle at this point to think if you bring Admech or Gene Stealer Cult and do well, I'll be surprised. If you bring anything else that you're experienced with and do well, good on you.
Yeah, I think we're seeing enough variety in what's winning that I don't have a lot of criticism of the meta right now. I'm fairly surprised that we're not seeing Votan just wreck people. That must mean that the launch. I know Violence is watching. Violence, why do you think Votan's not winning more?
Apparently, it is in the aggregate on the stats.
Okay,
and in some of my events, there definitely were some Votan, I believe.
Yeah, but they just seem like they're N and 1 to me, X and 1. It doesn't seem like maybe your events they won a bunch.
No, I take it back. I got one.
Yeah,
Votan in here.
It's really strange because their book seems incredibly powerful. Naj rocked people at our 100-person event. It just seems strange. That's all.
Yeah.
So maybe the nerfs were all they needed. I don't know. I'd like to start by talking about the Winter Assault ITC Major in Boston, Massachusetts. I hope that everybody that was there parked their car in the car park. They didn't do a good job of that. Moving on. That tournament was won by the probably wonderful Daniel Wolmuth. And Daniel brought Yunari. Yunari is no longer by any means the thing that Billy and I are nerding out about. It is now a very viable thing that people just take.
Mm-hmm.
And I will learn from our mistakes, and we will take literally no credit for this Yunari list.
There's one that later on that we're at least going to, talk about. But yeah, I don't think this version.
Okay. So starting off, he has a battalion of Yunari, a Warlock, the Incarn, a Farseer Skyrunner. That Farseer Skyrunner has Kurnos' bow, so he's doing the vomiting mortal wounds on you from the Farseer thing, which is super cool. I don't like to spend the CP on it, but it's super cool. Then he has 2 units of Rangers, 1 big unit of troops. He only put 1 Caress and 1 Embrace and 3 Kisses in that unit. So there's 5 normal blokes in there. Then a unit of 5 Witches, unit of 5 Striking Scorpions, 2 units of 5 Banshees as the way you'd expect them, 3 units of Warlocks in a Conclave, and then another Warlock. So he's got 5 Warlocks altogether, which seems like a lot to me. Then a unit of 5 Wind Riders, a unit of 10 Swooping Hawks, and then a unit of 3 Shining Spears, a Warwalker, Baharath, and a Webwaygate. To me, this looks like a lot of really fun things together. I bet he had just an absolute riot playing this list, if I'm honest.
Mm-hmm. This strikes me as the points farm way of playing elves. I'm honestly a little surprised to see it as Yunari as opposed to, the whichever the one that you can advance and then still count as stationary so your Swooping Hawks can do things. Because this has all the point scoring things, and I guarantee you he was allowed to bring Ashuriani secondaries.
But he also has the big unit of troops. He's got the Incarn. Yeah. Like he's making use of Yunari here.
He is, and I like to see that our thoughts have been validated of just the core power of that chapter tactic, and the Incarn just making people feel happy.
Right. Next up, we have, for the limited time only, no, not at all, we have a Blood Angels winner. Is that exciting? Mm-hmm. You like the blood? By the way, this is a 5-round event with 86 people. So the 4 lists I'm covering are the 4 undefeated lists. So second place is Casey Glenn with his Blood Angels, or her Blood Angels possibly. Casey's a gender neutral name. Blood Angels, we have Lamardes and then a unit of Death Company. This list goes 5-7-7 for Sangard. This list rocks Dante, a Sanguinary Priest, and Cursors, another unit of Death Company. Unit of Scouts, unit of Eliminators, a Whirlwind, and a Landspeeder Storm. That's a pretty standard Blood Angel list. The only thing that I think is weird here is the Scout Squad. But, Scouts can still be useful. And maybe he's putting them in the Landspeeder Storm, which is totally a viable thing you can do.
Don't you have to now because transports have to have people that can go in it?
Oh, that's true. That makes the Storm a lot more valuable. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
Third place is Tau. I need to get the name of the person. Sorry.
Sam O'Brien.
Sam O'Brien's Tau. Sam O'Brien's Tau looks a lot like the Tau that we've been talking about. Instead of, he's got the 2 bombers and he's got the Kroot and he's got all the Kroot that does stuff. He's got the commanders. He's got Farsight. The only difference between this and what we've been seeing most recently is we've been seeing double Riptide in all the lists we've been talking about. This list has 6, 3, and 4 crisis suits.
Oh, wow.
And another 3. This list has 4 units of crisis suits because one of them is a no force org slot. That doesn't make any sense. Oh, that's a unit of crisis bodyguards. I apologize. I was like, how is he getting past the rule of 3 here? Next up, and by the way, he went 4 with a tie. Yep. Next up is a Tyranid list, and that Tyranid list belongs to Dean Giannotti from Ham Ranch. I just wanted to say that. Mm-hmm. And he rocked the Jormungandr, which is the more durable, we're in cover people. He's got Tyrant Guard, he's got Zoanthropes, he's got Tyranid Warriors, and 2 units of those. He's got 2 Carnifexes, he's got a unit of 5 Gene Stealers, and he's got double Flyrant, excuse me. Pretty solid list. Interesting that it's Jormungandr. I think this will still be amazing as Kraken. He has a Moloch as well, which is unusual. But good for him. Way to go 4 and a tie. So Robin Roberts got 5th place with his something or another, with his Gene Stealer cult. And Gene Stealer cult, that's right. So that is the 86-player 5-round Boston tournament, the Winter Assault ITC Major. Next up, we're going to talk about the Grimdark 10 GT in Stockholm, Sweden. It had 46 players. You can hear the player counts dropping off significantly. December's a rough time for tournaments. We'll have, especially the last week of the year, we're going to have a very light amount of tournaments to talk about. But we're working on having the triumphant return of Hake's List Corner to take up some of the time. So we will pull that through. Starting off at the Grimdark. Now, at the Grimdark 46-player tournament, there was no undefeated player. Well, there were 2 undefeated players, but nobody had 5 wins. So the top 2 people tied, and one of them is a Tyranid player, and one of them is a Votann player. So we get to talk about Votann a little bit here. Mm-hmm. So the winner is Jacob Holmstrom, I think. I don't know how the O with the line over it is pronounced because I'm an ignorant American.
It's like you purse everything up and then you just sort of
Holmstrom.
Yeah,
like that.
I think so. It's basically it's an excuse for Americans to have fun. Oh, this is the umlaut, not the O with the thing through it.
Oh, it's tiny though.
On my screen, it's...
Oh, it is an umlaut. You are correct, sir.
Which is also an amazing word. Just
umlaut?
Umlaut is like top 5 favorite word to say in the English language.
I'm a big fan of anything with a diphthong.
Diphthongs and spondies are fun.
Yep. Okay.
This is niche.
I'm really feeling the sick Colin now. We're really struggling now.
Does Colin
we are now clicking through lists idly, unsure what we're supposed to be looking at.
Jacob Holmstrom.
No, I found it.
Okay.
Gene Stealer Colt. Is that right? No.
Nids.
Weird. Okay, I'm going to bring the list up again because it's not coming up. It's not.
Yeah, it's Jormungandr Nids.
Okay. Oh, I already went through this list. No, I didn't. This is a different list. Okay. Here we go. Jormungandr. I'm sorry. Whose list is this? This list belongs to
Jacob
Holmstrom. Holmstrom. We just talked about this. So he also has Jormungandr. He also has a unit of Tyrant Guard to keep his 2 Flyrants safe. He also has a Moloch. He has the Parasite Vortex, which I'm a huge fan of. That's a massive utility piece for 80 points. But then after that, he wanted Billy to be unhappy, so he has 2 Harpies. And he wanted the rest of the meta to be unhappy, so he has a Spore Assist. This is a man who is controlling the table. I think that's super cool. Good job to Jacob. Next up is Daniel Turcha with his Votann. And his Votann was the Yimmer Conglomerate, which gives everything an invul. This is an interesting decision. Chuck played a game against me this weekend where he took longer range and something else, but longer range on his guns, which is super cool. But because his reasoning was The big tanks in particular have a 2-up with Armor of Contempt, right? And so in order to get past a 5-up, you need to have AP4. Wait, is that right? No, AP4 would only give it a 5-up. Yeah. So you need to have a lot of AP to push these things past their invuls, but there are a lot of weapons with high AP, so Yimmer makes sense because everything gets an invul that way. So he's got a small unit he's got Grimnir and High Call, and then he's got 3 units of the 10 dudes, which are super cool, just like the normal warriors with bolters. Then 2 units of the melee guys, the berserkers. After that, he's got 2 units of Hearthguard, which are those are the Terminators, I bet.
Yeah, I think.
And then 2 units of Pioneers with a wide variety of weapons, and then 2 Sagatars. So no big tanks, just tons of infantry and 2 little vehicles.
Interesting.
Yeah. Great to see Votan start to do some stuff so we can see what everybody likes. I'm surprised the big tanks aren't in that list for sure.
I agree.
Third up, we got Axel Ryden. And Axel Ryden is a really cool name. I hope that's his real name. And he took Masterful Shots and Swift Strikes with Craftworld Eldar, which we're seeing some of. Masterful Shots is Ignore Cover. No, is that right? Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. And Swift Strikes is Exploding 6s in combat? Or auto-wounding 6s in combat? Exploding 6s in combat.
I think this is the Advance and Remain Stationary.
Oh, it is. You're right.
Yeah. This is the I'm a good player with Eldar, and I'm just going to outplay you.
Yeah, because he's got 2x3 Shroud Rudders. He's got 3 Vipers. He's got 30 Swooping Hawks. This is a lot, very close to what Nanavati's been playing. 10 Dire Avengers, 5 Howling Banshees, Conclave, Webway Gate. Yeah, this is exactly right. That. This is I get to advance and act as normal, and so my Hawks go forever and then teleport themselves. That's what this is.
Yeah.
Cool. Third, we have we did Craftworld already. We have Necrons in 4th, 4 and 1. This is the last list. Actually, no, that's true. I want to cover the Genestealer Cult list. But this is Necrons. It is a little bit different in that while it does have the Silent King, it does have 2 units of 16 Flayed Ones, which we certainly have not seen. It has 2 units of 16, yes.
Wow.
And then Destroyers, Tomb Blades, 3 Tesseract Arcs, 3 Heavy Destroyers, 2 units of Wraiths. So very different list. Good job on 4 and 1 with this wildly different Necron list from what we've been seeing, other than the Silent King, who's in every list. Next up, we're going to talk about some Genestealer Cult because Bilbo Göransson from the Society of Salty Gamers. I like everything about what I just said. Bilbo Göransson from the Society of Salty Gamers. I'm going to say it again. And he brought Mono Genestealer Cult, which we're starting to see the Mono Genestealer Cult get paraded. I love it. I've played this army quite a bit. I love playing it. It's so fun. One of my criteria for how much fun I'm having is, do I have dudes in trucks or vehicles of some sort? Dudes in cars doing things is like one of my favorite things. This list has Accustomed to Turmoil, Deep Supplies, and Industrial Affinity. Industrial Affinity is the ignoring penalties on industrial weapons. I'm sorry, I don't know what Deep Supplies is. Supplies. Magus, Patriarch Primus. Then what most people are doing, which is 1 million units of 10 neophytes with guns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of those. 2 units of Acolytes here. A Kellamorph, a Nexus. 10 Pure Strains, a Saboteur, a Sanctus. 3x3 bikes, and 3 Rock Grinders. So there's 10 guys in each Rock Grinder. No, there's not. That's not how Rock Grinders work. They don't have room for that.
A pig is making noises in another room. I'll be right back.
Okay. A pig is making noises in another room. We are being talked to in code. Not really. Have you guys ever seen the movie Top Secret? It's from the 80s. It's got Val Kilmer in it before he was all old and bloated. I think he's super sick. I'm not trying to make fun of him. I know that he was written into Maverick under his minimal capacity, which I appreciated.
Yeah.
Anywho, Top Secret has spy code, and one of the guys says the Black duck quivers underwater in the moonlight. And I think that's a really great code phrase. It's not as good as there's a pig making noise in the other room, but it's pretty good. Yeah. Let's see. Nicholas James says, I'm late, but I'm here. Slept clean through my This Week in 40K alarm. Oh. And yes, it would blow up if you didn't have scouts. Beams on the side guitar feels very immersed. Take a line fortress with Hawkeye. Yep. I agree, Nicholas. Okay, I've talked about my tournaments. I only have 2 this week because I'm not doing well. We have 17 minutes for Billy to cover the rest of his events, which he's very practiced at. Because
5 tournaments.
I put no effort into making sure that we allow Billy enough time. That's just simply not a thing I pay attention to.
I enjoy the degree of difficulty that's inserted into my life every day or every Tuesday.
Okay.
What do we got
just
here?
So we're clear, my friendship with Billy inserts a degree of difficulty just normally.
No, yes. This is objectively not true. You've brought me into debt. Well, to the extent that you bring me into Destiny 2 gave me less time to prepare for this. Yes, but you bring joy into my life. And so let us continue.
Oh, hey, if anybody wants to play with people in Destiny 2, we're like old dads and soon to be dads that are gaming in a very dad method. But we're having a wonderful time and we're doing endgame content and we could use more people. So if you'd like to play Destiny 2 with us, we'd be happy to have you. Just reach out to Colin. I'm on Facebook and Discord and other places as well. Or email bestinfaction@gmail.com. Sorry. Go ahead, Billy.
So with that, we have De Winterwa out of Horwich, England. This was won by Adam Lane of the Northern Warlords using Tau Empire. It's basically the list we've been talking about. 2 bombers, 2 riptides, a couple commanders, 1 suit unit, and some crew to round it out. It's a good solid list. Adam Lane is a name we've seen before. Congrats to Adam, but there's not a ton of interesting to talk about with his army. Matt Robertson, 2nd place. He brought Votan. This is the correct list. He did bring Emir. He has 2 land tanks because I want to trigger Hank. 2 land tanks.
If you want to trigger Hank.
Land trains, excuse me. 2 land trains. All the beamers on all of the things he can. 2 units of 6 bikes. How many berserkers? Only 1 unit of berserkers, it looks like. And a variety of characters and troops to round it out. 3 tanks, 3 land trains, many land trains, all the beams. Okay. Good beams on you. Days. What?
Beams for days.
Beams for days. Good on you, Matt. And this might be your, top players actually starting to grab the Votans. 3rd place, Michael Duff with 1,000 Suns, but I bet you if I scroll, there's going to be there's that demon detachment with 14 flamers. He had 10 Terminators to go along with his 14 flamers, but quite a bit of rubrics. 5 rubric squads. That seems to be the way you can do it. You either have 20 Terminators and very few rubrics, or 25 rubrics and 10 Terminators. But you better bring those flamers. We got Matt Charles, who is a Lord of Wa. So maybe at De Winter Wa, he was at home. He had Blood Angels. He had 3 units that, deploy in the midfield between incursors and infiltrators. 1 Death Company. He had a Judiciary, which is,
you know what, Billy? I'm going to step away and make sure my kids have woken up because I have not heard them. This might have to become a segment. Are Colin's kids awake? That might be a thing we have to do earlier in the show so that I don't forget. They need to leave right now. So I'll be back.
You do that. I got a bunch of events to talk about here. 3 units of Sangard, 2 Eliminators and a Whirlwind. All of the tools you expect to see. His Death Company are big. It's a 10-man with 5 hammers and 5 chainswords. So he can kill both Dark Elves and the everything else's. And then Dale Watts of Dyson Men, which is a fun team. He brought, it looks like demons. Yes, this is just demons. Bellicor, Bloodthirster, Lord of Change. 1 of each kind of small unit. And he has 6/6/4 flamers. You bring flamers. They're obnoxious and amazing and great. And if you can't purchase them now, unless you really plan on playing demons a lot going forward, they're going to get nerfed. GW has basically said that. I am sad that Colin is not around to hear about the Crumpus Claws Brawl 40K. Oh, wait, he's sitting down. He's sitting down. This is great audio content for everyone who's listening later. But all right, Colin, I'm glad you're back because it's important that you listen about the Crumpus Claws Brawl 40K GT in Mahwah, New Jersey. Because the top
Did
5.
you practice saying all that?
I did not. I'm
wow,
just
that was
that
impressive.
talented. Yes.
By the way, if anyone's concerned, all my kids have left for school.
Yay! No juvenile delinquents.
Yep.
All right. The top 5, just players in order. TJ Lanigan, Derek Apshe, that one guy not super familiar with. 3rd place, Dennis Wilson. 4th place, Sean Naden. 5th place, Anthony Vanilla in a 44-player tournament. This could be an LVO top 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just an absolute slaughterhouse of an event. Won by TJ. He did the 20 Scarab Terminators and 544 Flamers in his Thousand Suns Siege list. 2nd place, so Derek Apshe, it's a name we've seen before. Are you familiar with him, Colin? I'm not. Super familiar. Okay. I know.
Actually, he's a friend of mine, and I wrote his list. No,
that's an inside joke, and we did not do either of those things.
It was not an inside joke. We talked about it last episode.
But we can never assume people listen to everything, even though it's probably the same people who listen to everything.
Are you kidding? People listen to every episode. They can't get enough of this.
That's true. All right. He brought Grey Knights. He brought Grey Knights with a Librarian, Tech Marine Drago, 2 Dread Knights, 3 Paladins, 15 Strikes, 25 Interceptors. This is a list pulled largely from, earlier in the summer. And I'm just interested to see that it succeeded. Especially in that field. So, Derek, you are someone we should know more about because doing that well with that list in that field, super good job on you. Ines Wilson in 3rd place after talking a lot of trash about coming and dominating the weaker U.S. meta. Or North American, I guess. He dropped into one of the hardest parts of it and did quite well, but, didn't win. So pick whether you want to praise him or flame him. I'm sure he will accept either.
Hey, Philip Waghorn is in the chat.
Hello, Philip. Yeah, Philip was here.
We already talked to Philip. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, he just has such a good name. I wanted to
say, I thought I have the stomach flu. I've decided now because I'm sweaty and feel like I'm going to pass out. And I thought he was one of the people we talked about from the tournament, and I was confused. I apologize. Please continue.
That's fair. Okay, Ines brought Kraken. He had 9 Zone Thropes, 2 Flyers, 3 Guards, 10 Raveners, and then the usual assortment of small stuff.
That's the list. That's one of the lists.
Sean Naden brought the Goths that he's been playing with. If you see Sean at an event, look at his army. It's freaking beautiful. Yep. Different a bit than what he had at Charity Hammer. It had 40 Gretchen, lots of knobs, 2 Battle Wagons, 3 Death Dreads, trucks, stuff, because like Gene Stiller called Orc List, just keep going. And at a certain point, it's just stuff. And then our good friend Anthony Violence Vanilla, he had Creations of Bile, so he's a little bit off of Alka-Seltzer says Crumpus was a fun event even at the middle tables. Middle tables at this event, I have to imagine, are winning other GTs given what was at the top. But Anthony was on Creations of Bile. I'm sure he has talked in many other places that he has access to why it was that and not Emperor's Chosen. But Demon Prince, Disco Lord, Master of Possession, he had a Traitor Guardsman unit in there. I was unaware that was a thing that could go in there, but it had all the fixins. He had Chosen, Master of Possession, 2 units of 9 Possessed, Rhino, Abaddon, Spawn, and a Venom Crawler. Go look at that event for what the best players seem to think is good, because they all looked like this. Did not feel like the narrative at GW where the top players took memes list. This looked like people who were starting to, aim in on what they're ended up with. I have 10 minutes and I have 3 events to go, so I can do this. We had the number 1 GT Mallorca in Palma Ilares, Spain. I butchered that, but I tried. And boy, with some of these names, give me that same grace because I'm going to butcher them again. First place was Xisco Ubeda, Xisco. That is not a name that a native English speaker is going to succeed at, but kudos to you. Philip, I'm sure your 1 and 4 was wonderful. Xisco over in Mallorca brought Chaos Demons, 4-0-1. No one went 5-0 at this 35-player event. He had Bellicor, Lord of Change, only 3 and 4 flamers. So 7 total flamers. And then he had a Bloodthirster, Scarbrand, some letters, and some dogs. Basically, the one thing I'll say is you don't see a lot of Slanesh running around lists, but you sure do see a lot of Corn and Tzeentch. We had Joaquin Jurado. I'm not sure if it's a hard or soft or YJ. He brought Emperor's Children. And some of the records at this event. Second place went 3-0-2. 2 ties in an event. WTC scoring, sorry, much less exciting. Colin, you're muted.
In my entire career of 40K, I have 0 ties.
How many in WTC?
That person
scoring?
has 2.
It was WTC scoring, so it's
okay.
That's more reasonable.
So they went 10 to 10 then. That's fine.
Emperor's Children, 6 Noise Marine Squads, Lucius Abaddon, Master Possession Demon Prince, 5 Possessed, 10 Terminators. That's your bog standard. Next, third, Mark Costa, also 3-0-2, 1,000 Suns, and just 1,000 Suns, no demons. 20 Terminators, 1 Volcon, and 2 units of 5 Spawn. So, a little bit of an older list, but it checks out. Just like that reference. Mm-hmm. Tony DeSoler, 4th place, Black Legion, also 3-0-2. Also basically your stock assortment of Chaos Marine units. He did have 3 Obliterators. You go, Tony. It's a better record than I've ever got, so most of my ribbing would be useless. All right, Ricardo Garrido, not saying that we influenced this, but I'm saying this is a list that is very near and dear to Colin and my heart. This is Inari. He had 2 units each of Troops, Rangers, and Banshees. Sounds familiar. 5 Scorpions, 3 Shooty Clown Bikes, 5 Hawks, 6 D Cannons. This is a list that you and I know well and enjoy, and well done with you, Richard Garrido.
Philip Waghorn says, and if we're not talking about the 1 and 4 players, we're not going to be talking about him, which is either a self-deprecating joke or some really beautiful self-awareness. I don't know which one it is.
Both.
Could be both.
We have the Munster Encounter in Hormstar, Germany. 35 players, 5 rounds. Also WTC scoring. So if you
could even maybe call it the Monster Mash.
You could, but I think there was a Krampus Brawl, and so a Monster Mash would also be acceptable. But they chose to go with Munster Encounter, not Munster Mash.
Munster Mash is the joke I was trying to make.
I know, but I guess it's just not as phonetic.
I was working in Germany late one night. Okay, sorry.
What do we think mash is in German? How many syllables does it take German to say the word mash? It's got to be 14 or 15, right?
I don't know.
Triple compound word. Anyway.
I'll go find it. While you're talking about tournaments, I'll find out what Monster Mash is in German. I'll be back.
This will be fun. All right, we have Grisha Gerwert, Chaos Demons, Bloodthirster, Lord of Change, and then the smaller Tzeentch and Slanesh Heralds. 6/5/3 Flamers, some little dudes, 1 Beast of Nurgle. Occasionally seeing a Beast of Nurgle. I think they're just useful pieces to sit places and live. Malte Hoffs, absolutely killer name. And listen to this man's list. He brought Iron Warriors. He had 2 Disco Lords. He had 2 Decimators, 2 units of 5 Berserkers, 2 units of 5 Rubrics, and 2 Land Raiders. And he went 4-1. This man is a champion.
I am ready for the Land Raider meta.
Yeah. And the Iron Warrior Land Raiders are, they're not a total meme.
Not at all.
Yeah. So just really want to give you your shout outs there, Malta. I think that's how you say that. Archer Gutler, Tau, 3rd place.
Hold on. This is important.
Okay.
Google Translate says that Monster Mash in English is Monster Mash in German, but with a hyphen between the 2 words.
Well, that's not fun.
That's hilarious. I would like verification from the audience if that's true.
Tempe says it's Monster Bray, according to Google.
Oh, I probably used Google wrong then.
All right, so Archer Gutler, 3rd place. Tau, Gutler. 2 Bombers, 3 Hammerheads, 2 Ghost Keels, 2 Piranhas, no big suits. Very few Kroot from my recollection. So a slight change up. That actually has me questioning the amount of terrain on the field. But Fourth place, Adrian Wilruth with Necrons. He brought all the toys and very few of the boys. Nightbringer, Deceiver, and 2 Doom Scythes. He had some Tomb Blades in there. But it's an archetype. Obviously, the Silent King. You don't have to say that. Okay. Yeah. Kartoffelbrei, which is apparently mashed potatoes in German. German is just fun and weird language. And I'll move
Also,
on.
if you'd said Kartoffelbrei was at the tournament, I'd be like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. No notes.
Are we done?
Ruben Paul Goldman, 4-1 with
Okay.
Creations of Bile. 2
Wonderful.
Disco Lords, 15 Possessed, no Terminators. I guess no Terminators in Bile? Question mark. And just Disco Lords being on the field make me happy. Though that unit is just everything I like in 40K. It's fast, it's a character, it smashes things. It's probably too big and unwieldy to really be optimal, but anyone who has fun with it, good on you. Then finally, continuing out, some top players are honing in on what they're trying to do. We have the Grinning Demon Series GT in Greater Sudbury, Canada, won by Sam Procipio, who I believe is Anthony's Blood Angels, confidant. They're the ones that have chatted about Blood Angels quite a bit. If Anthony's still in here, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's who that is. 5-1 with Blood Angels, 3 Death Companies, 3 Sangers, 1 Speeder, 5 Assault Marines, and an Eliminator. All
Pretty
of
standard.
just the hits. Scary, the Ridvan Martinez himself, came in second with 5-0. This is a list only Scary could love.
I bet you. It's the focus.
Yeah, it's 2 patrols of Obsidian Rose Cabal and 1 of Dark Creed. It has no witches. It does all sorts of jank. I think he was talking about this back when the book came out. So, go back to his podcast from that. It had 3 Raiders and 3 Venoms. So dudes in boats. Jake Burnett in third, Blood Angels. Usual thing. He did have Terminators and just 5 Grav dudes with no pod or anything. He had Blade Guard. Not quite sure what Jake was doing. Nicholas Blackburn in fourth, Chaos Demons. This is the 1,000 Suns and Demons rubrics. And then 10 Terminators, 15 Flamers. And then finally, Tim Dietlef's Clowns, 8 Light Boats, 2x2 shooty bikes. And that's all the news that's fit to print.
Okay. Except that we're not printing news, but other than that, yes.
No. Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, that was great fun, as always. Yeah, we'll be back next Tuesday. So, thank you, everybody. We love your comments. Leave your comments in the YouTube or shoot them to us or whatever. We love hearing it. It's great to know what you guys appreciated and didn't appreciate. If we got your name wrong or your list wrong, feel free to correct us. We are far from perfect, especially me. So, yeah, we'll wrap it up here and go do our actual jobs. He's Billy. I'm Colin because somebody has to be, and we'll be back next week. Thank you, everybody. We're This Week in 40K. Bye now.
Bye.